Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
It's the Go Gopher Podcast with Mike Grimm, episode number 101. I am Mike Grimm, voice of the Golden Gophers, and welcome back to our podcast. It's a busy time in the college football world. Bowl game preparation, NIL info, transfer portal news, and National Signing Day for high school players this week. And we're excited to have an hour of in-depth Gopher football talk with the Gophers Guru Daniel House from GophersGuru.com. We'll take a deep dive into everything we just talked about, including taking a long look at that high school recruiting class, the 5 incoming transfers, a preview of the bowl game, and a quick snapshot of the defensive coordinator opening. Our Go Gopher podcast is presented by alumni-owned Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're a business founder planning to exit your business, start by contacting Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Sunbelt serves more businesses up to $5 million in revenue than anyone, and True North M&A serves companies with revenues up to $150 million. Get a confidential, no-cost, no obligation business valuation started today. Make the most of your life's work. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com. Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union is also a big sponsor of our Go Gopher podcast. We appreciate their support. Life math is complicated, and Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union makes it easier with a local financial expert available to help in person or virtually. Learn more at affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. We're also sponsored by Cub, a proud supporter of the Go Gopher podcast. In a hurry? Don't worry. Cub delivers. Get fresh meat, produce, everyday essentials, and more delivered to your door. Cub's the official grocer of the Golden Gophers and proud to support Gopher athletics for over 20 years. Our podcast is also brought to you by State Farm agent Tony Hoagland at ChamplinInsurance.com. Tony is a big Gopher football fan. We're podcasting episode 101 from the Aquarius Home Services studio. We invite you to subscribe to the podcast. It's free to do so. You can subscribe and go back and listen to previous shows as well. It's free. Last week, for example, we spoke with Gopher starting quarterback Cole Kramer to preview the Quick Lane Bowl. It's still timely, so you can go back and listen to that as well. This week, we once again are talking Golden Gopher football. It's the Gophers Guru Daniel House. He'll join me next.
I'm Clay Geary, walk-on turned scholarship wide receiver for Gopher football.
And I'm Ben Utek, U of M alumni, Super Bowl champion, and Tony Dungy Uncommon Award winner.
We understand championship culture, which is why we're part of the True North family of companies.
True North invests in only elite teams, like the champion team at Sunbelt Business Advisors, Minnesota's largest seller of companies. To learn more about True North and our diverse family of independently owned companies, visit TrueNorthEquityPartners.com.
When we say that Cub milk is the freshest in town, we mean it. Less than 48 hours from farm to store fresh. We guarantee 7 days or more of freshness. It all starts with local dairy farmers who take great care in making sure all the cows are happy and healthy. We support local farm families 365 days a year. And that makes our milk even more delicious. So you always get the freshest milk and the biggest smiles.
It's episode number 101, the Go Gopher Podcast, and we're thrilled to have Daniel House with us from GophersGuru.com. He is a great evaluator, great breaker down of film, and we've got a number of things to talk with Daniel House about. He has returned trip here, as you've been on the podcast, 4 or 5 times now, I think.
4 or 5 times, but this time my head has been removed from the portal. That's where I've been for like 3 weeks here.
Yes.
The portal, recruiting, defensive coordinator search beginning soon here. Like it's crazy times right now.
Yeah, we had PJ on the radio show on Monday, Guardsy and I did, and we asked him about just how busy of a time, and he said it's the busiest 3 or 4 week stretch of his coaching career. Just as the stuff you mentioned, you got new stuff involved with portal. That's different, and it every year seems to even create a bigger hamster on the wheel. And signing day, bowl preparation, the team's in a bowl game, new defensive coordinator to hire, NIL to try to figure out all of that stuff. So not only is it impacting his time, but for guys like you who really dive into this stuff and provide unbelievable content, it creates some busy nights, I'm sure, for you too.
Yeah, it's all fun stuff, though. Pulling up the All-22 to watch a whole bunch of different defenses and find players that might be good fits that the Gophers are targeting. So I've been watching a lot of different teams over the last month or so.
Well, you've got all kinds of good stuff on the webpage. So let's start right away by telling, for folks that maybe not be familiar, because not everybody listens all the time, tell us about gophersguru.com.
This website I started in 2020 during the pandemic, still going strong, subscriber-based, $5 a month for the content. Take a little bit of a next-gen approach to the coverage, in-depth analysis on schematics, but simplified down for people to understand it, breaking down players, doing features from time to time on players. So it's a melding pot of different types of content, even podcasts, lots of different things that I've been doing on the site. So check it out, gophersguru.com. You can get access for the $5 a month.
Yeah, it's great content, no doubt, Daniel. And we have a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about National Signing Day. As we are recording this, it is National Signing Day. All the ink is onto paper, so we know the Gophers have about 20 guys that they have signed in terms of high school players, and then another 5 transfer kids that will, be in here soon, including a couple of quarterbacks, a couple of defensive backs, and a running back, all positions of need, certainly for 2024. We will talk about the NIL, the transfer portal. You mentioned that you were doing some work on finding defenses, and maybe we'll pick your brain on potential candidates for defensive coordinator. And then we can take a look at Bowling Green, because you've been watching a little film there, and maybe you can, I have not, so you can get me ready for my bowl game broadcast next Tuesday. So we invite people right now, dig in, because we're going deep here in football with Daniel House, the Gophers Guru. All right, let's start with signing day. I think that is the most immediate thing as we are talking here today on the Go Gopher podcast, and a pretty good class. Gopher Illustrated 247, our buddy Ryan Burns has it ranked as the 37th best recruiting class in the country. And I think when you compare it in relative terms to previous classes and previous coaches and so on, because it's really the only measuring stick you have, it is one of the better classes, right?
Yeah, it's definitely has a lot of upside. You look at it headlined by high potential trench players on both sides of the ball, in the O-line and the D-line, a talented quarterback that they'll continue developing over the next couple of years, unique mismatch pass catchers. That was one of the takeaways, is length and bigger skill sets to create mismatches in the passing game, intriguing defensive back talent, some versatility in that area, and then, of course, top 100 national player in Coy Parrish, who they were able to close the deal on. Ohio State with the late surge. Ryan Day up in Esco on Friday, trying to convince Coy to come play for the Buckeyes, but maintained true to his commitment. Now Minnesota gets to maximize a very unique talent in Coy, who's super versatile.
Well, we won't go into a PJ Fleck-esque 50-minute rundown of an entire 20-man class, but I do want to get some nuggets on each guy. We'll spend maybe some more time on some of these higher-end ratings guys, and as it will always be, there'll be something where we're going to give a guy a one-sentence deal at the end of this thing, and he'll be all Big Ten in 4 years and say, see, I told you so. That's how it works. That's how it works right now in this recruiting world. So let's start with Coy Parrish. He is the number 94 ranked guy, according to Gopher Illustrated, a safety. What is his skill set? Obviously a great athlete.
Versatile. Could work around the box, in the deep half, played some outside cornerback, just everything that you want in a defensive back to play multiple different roles and different schemes. Good size, frame, developmental traits, very explosive on both sides of the ball. The movement skills jump out. He changes direction fast and plays with really good instincts. You said it, the athleticism, 40-inch vertical, 10'6" broad at 6'1", 200 pounds. Just a playmaker that Minnesota can build around in the defensive backfield. And I think a big part of being able to land Coy was the selling point of safeties that Minnesota's produced here. I mean, you got Tyler Newman, you got Antoine Winfield, you got Jordan Howden. Like, the lineage of defensive backs that have played that position was a big sell. And when you get an athlete like Coy that can play so many different roles and be disruptive and explosive in the back end, it's all about team speed, and Coy definitely provides that all the way up on the North Shore. I mean, finding talent all the way up there, it doesn't happen very often. So Coy gets to make his mark as that northern legend type of player that stayed home and played for the Gophers. So we'll see what he can do when he gets in here.
And with that versatility, do you think he's straight safety, or could he play a nickel or that kind of monster back that we've seen in the past?
Well, that's the cool thing, is with the unknown of what they're going to do schematically here, it leaves some opportunity to do some different things with where the game's going. You can play Coy in different spots. I mean, traditionally at safety is probably where he ends up, but the versatility to do a lot of different things helps you not only, do some creative schematic things, but if people get hurt, it allows you to move people around. So I don't think you can have enough players with this type of skill set and the instincts and athleticism. It's going to be fun to see what he can do with Danny Collins.
Yeah, and then handling expectations, because everyone's going to have an eye on him for sure. What's a comp? Who would you say is a comp to him?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, I think high school players are tough, Grimm, because I like to just kind of get a chance to see them in person first. I don't like to make too many big comps at this point, but I would just say versatility, instincts, ability to play a lot of different spots in the back end. And ask me again about a comp once I see him in person. I got to evaluate in person. I don't like to make comps until I see what they can do actually with my eyes.
Understood. Very well. Yeah, because the kid's 18, right? So it's hard to know. And where he goes body-wise as well. All right, next guy is Nathan Roy out of Wisconsin, the top-ranked player in Wisconsin. So we go from the number one high schooler in Minnesota to the number one high schooler in the state of Wisconsin, offensive tackle. What do you know about him?
Lots of talent, large frame, but does a really good job of striking and coiling up with hips and hands in sync, finishing blocks through the whistle. Could drive defenders out of their gap, gets inside hands a lot. I mean, it's just the athleticism, too, to be able to pull out in space, does a good job of finding approaching defenders in the second level. He'll get stronger. He'll tune up all the technique under Brian Callahan, but to be able to go into Wisconsin, get the top player over there, an offensive lineman, I wrote about that on the site, how Wisconsin was really able to, in the heart of what they were able to do there consistently, they were keeping those offensive linemen in state. And now recently some schools have been able to come in and poach some of those players. And Minnesota was able to come in and get a very good one here through the shot put 60 feet at the D1 State Track and Field Championships. That core strength, that specific trait, the shot put and discus throw, those elements like wrestling, they definitely looked at that when they were building this class out on O-line and D-line. So very exciting talent and Nathan Roy that Brian Callahan gets to work with.
And then, as you mentioned, kind of using the guts of a program being built on both sides of the football, we switch to now the Player of the Year in the state of North Dakota, Riley Sunrum, and he is currently a D lineman. I think he'll stay there. He's not going to be an O lineman, right? It'll be D lineman. Sometimes linemen come in and then you figure it out, but this guy looks to be a D lineman.
Powerful, long, reported 81-inch wingspan, well-built defensive lineman. Powerful hands, another guy that really strikes with authority, able to get an established leverage and knockback versus blockers. I just feel like he's someone that will be fun to watch developmental-wise, like what track he takes when he adds weight and fills out the frame, what type of versatility does he have, which alignment does he play from. Another player, 60-foot, 1-inch shot put, setting a school record. I see him projecting as a pocket-pushing, disrupted defensive tackle. His father played tight end at Minnesota State Moorhead. His mom was a volleyball player and track athlete there as well. He's going to the All-American Bowl, so being able to get another player on the defensive line to kind of develop around someone who could take a couple different developmental tracks. I'm all about interior defensive line play, creating pocket push, being disruptive there, and Sunram has that developmental skill set moving into the future here.
PJ said his dad was taking advantage of the Dinkytown beer. helping the
he said he was donating to the families donating to the collective.
Athletes. How about that? Pretty cool. All right, so he's not the number one ranked recruit by most services in Arkansas, Drake Lindsey, the quarterback. However, he was named Arkansas Player of the Year based on his accomplishments. So when you think about the first four guys now we've mentioned, you've got top-ranked recruits in 3 states, and then Player of the Year in Arkansas, which produces a fair number of high school players that turn into really good college players. Quarterback Drake Lindsey already looks to have Big Ten size at 6'5", 220.
Intriguing player. I got a chance to see him in an on-field workout in person, which helped me enhance my viewpoint. And I saw anticipation, accuracy, touch, throwing receivers open was something I saw on film, which is, I always look for that. Can you anticipate when the receiver's coming out of the break and throw them open to a spot? And there were a lot of instances where that was the case, especially in the red zone, able to move defenders with his eyes and then put the ball in certain spots. I pulled out one clip from the end zone angle a while back showing what he was able to do to manipulate. And that's the type of thing you look for. Also, the ability to drive outside the numbers from the opposite hash flashes that ability. And I like the pocket presence. When he's facing pressure, he feels the rush well, is able to move around intentionally, not getting jittery in the pocket, sets his feet and gets a good base when he's leaving the pocket, and throws a very catchable ball. I think there's something to be said about that, being able to adjust the tempo of your throws based on what you need to do within a specific concept. And with Minnesota, they want to get to the point where they have a dynamic play action passing game that builds off the rushing attack. You got those play action crossers or those boots. And when I watched him execute those type of concepts in person, I said, yeah, this definitely is a really good fit schematically. PJ talked about grandfather Jim playing running back and being a kick and punt returner for the Vikings back in the day, which is pretty cool, coming full circle now back up here. And his family was big Arkansas fans, but able to close the deal. Huge credit to Greg Harbaugh and the staff for identifying Drake, prioritizing him, getting in before kind of the people really kind of knew what he could do, because he suffered an injury, patella tendon tear while playing basketball, and then ended up working his way back. Got back as a junior, played really well as a senior, played well, and then 52 touchdowns and 4 interceptions this year. Incredible statistics from Drake.
13-0. PJ and staff, I think Greg was with, they were in person with the family at that state title game.
That was really cool to hear PJ tell that story about getting the viewpoint of watching the game through quarterback dad's eyes. I thought that was awesome insight for people that want to hear about that. Go watch it.
Staying in Minnesota now, from Arkansas back home, Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, Mason Carrier, linebacker. I have some folks who were involved in that high school all-star game that played with, I'm going to say in the last month, I forget exactly when it was. They said this kid was an absolute beast in that game. I didn't watch it. Maybe you did. What do you see when you watch him?
Enforcer type of player. Yeah. Your classic Big Ten linebacker, the quick trigger and burst and lateral quickness while chasing down perimeter runs, good recognition and instincts on passes in the flat. He'll just continue to get stronger, work on that block deconstruction. That'll be the first step through the strength program, be tested more as a zone dropper and coverages based on the styles of offense that you see that they're playing against up there. But that swift lateral quickness, being able to navigate through traffic, square up in the hole, evade blockers, has that skill set. And I think he can give you a dimension once he develops up as sort of a mugging linebacker who can blitz downhill as well. Played running back on the other side of the ball, 1,000 points in basketball, so really good athlete. That's what you're looking for, trying to find players that have multi-sport backgrounds, because it translates very well to the college level.
I was at a sports bar in Detroit Lakes 2 summers ago, and they had bison stuff hanging everywhere. So Detroit Lakes, let's get some Gopher gear hanging up there. I do like the idea that this staff in the last 2 classes has branched out more than previously with them, and then even previously with other coaches, where they're going to snare some guys. I mean, you've got kids now on this roster from Detroit Lakes, Alexandria, even I would consider North Dakota kind of part of that outreach. There's kids also, I'm off the top of my head, what's a small town by Rochester that I'm trying to think where the kids from Kenyon, maybe, from last year. The offensive lineman.
Casson Manorville.
Casson Manorville.
Reese
Thank you. Reese Tripp. Anyway, my point is, I love that. I think that is one, you're going to find some players. Two, it just helps so that there isn't buys and stuff hanging at the sports bar.
But I think that's where the game's changed, Grimm, where players are able to develop in these smaller communities because there's access to so much training.
Yeah.
You don't have to physically.
Schools have weight rooms everywhere now.
Yeah, you don't physically have to go find somebody. You can do stuff virtually with people. I think about Tanner Morgan when he worked with Rob Williams, the kinesiologist out of Canada.
Yeah.
He literally just met the guy. And he had been working with them a ton and provided so much value in his development. So I think that's the difference that you see. People have more resources available, and they're going to find them. They're traveling to get those resources, and they're doing them at a young age to develop talent up. And that's why you're seeing more talent in those outer, greater Minnesota areas that PJ's been mining and trying to find some of those guys that can come in and develop up.
GophersGuru.com, Daniel House with us. We're talking Gopher recruiting. We go to the state of Illinois. I've seen this kid listed at both tight end and defensive end. Maybe they'll determine it. Julian Johnson out of Aurora, Illinois. What do you like?
Yeah, I'm intrigued by the developmental path here. Raw athlete with traits, an initial burst, long 6'6" frame, downfield playmaking ability in traffic. When you see the offensive side of things, ran a pretty limited route tree, more of the crossers, the screens, the downfield go balls, but like the traits are there on the defensive side of the ball, like being able to win at the top of the rush and retrace when needed. He has a lot of developmental pass rush traits, but you know, when you look at tight ends and defensive ends, those traits are very transferable. So you get a guy in here with that type of athletic ability and that frame, you determine what you need on your roster at the time, what the player's good at, how the physical development goes, and you find a role for him. He could be a powerful slot mismatch type of skill set if he goes the offensive path. On the defensive side, a dynamic pass rushing type.
I'm surprised we don't see more positional changes in college football, and maybe they happen early and we don't know about it, but if a guy's really athletic, I think the Gophers, and you know, what do I know? I've coached 0 games in my life, but even the Gophers, others have had, you know, guys that are really athletic, kind of buried on a depth chart, and you're like, geez, couldn't he be a tight end, or couldn't he be a linebacker, or add depth here or there? But there aren't that many. Now, positional changes from high school, like, you see that all the time. Oh, he played quarterback in high school, and now he's a safety or whatever. But once they get to campus, it seems they're locked in.
But I think that might be the secret sauce in this new landscape, is to recruit players that you see have the potential to play either way.
Yep.
Because with rosters ever changing, you're going, hey, a corner just left. I got a receiver that has a cornerback background. It's got great movement skills, and those traits are transferable. You can put that player over on the other side of the ball. So that's what I believe now you're going to see from some of these recruiting staffs, looking at players that can go multiple different ways, based on their high school past. Yeah. So that's something that I believe will give some teams an edge here moving forward.
All right, offensive lineman from the Kansas City area, Brett Carroll, another guy, and we talk about, you know, you in the Big Ten, if you got good players on both sides of the line, you're going to be good. What's this kid look like?
Heavyweight wrestler. Throws a shot put and discus.
So like every guy you've mentioned does that. Yeah.
Everybody does that. And I believe that's a good thing to have because those traits, again, transferable. The wrestling mat side of it, the hand combat, the balance, the leverage, the core strength, and then the core strength related to shot put and discus throw.
Sure.
So Carroll, I mean, unbelievable background in the wrestling side of things, which I wrote about on the site, but a burly, well-built offensive lineman with a mean streak, that sort of enforcer type of skill set, has experience at center, right tackle, left tackle, defensive tackle on defense, some athletic ability to get out in the second level in space and work, but has that downhill power too. Intrigued to see what he can do with Brian Callahan. Brian got 2 really good offensive linemen in here, both playing in the All-American Bowl, and we know what Callie does when he has that type of talent. He elevates it up. So nice adds by Minnesota along the offensive line.
Do you have Roy projected as a tackle and Carroll projected as an interior?
Yeah, that's exactly how I would see it right now.
All right, let's go to Mike Gerald, Katy, Texas, a cornerback, but really an athlete. You know, I mentioned, I'm going to, go back to what I said earlier, that you don't see a lot of position changes sometimes within the secondary. I think Antoine first started as a corner when he got to campus. They needed some help at safety, and all of a sudden, like, whoa, this guy's a great safety.
Yep.
Even Newman might have done some cornerback work, I think, when he first got got here. So I don't know what Gerald will be. I know he's an athlete. Maybe he could play the slot. Maybe he can play an outside corner. Maybe he can return punts or kicks. But I think they like the fact that he's what you're talking about, a guy that has some versatility.
Movement skills, speed, athleticism. I remember coaches who got to look at him in person on the staff talking about the traits and really liking what he had to bring to the table in that area, like the high ceiling, that once he gets the technical components down, he can be a really good player. Showcased the speed while working as a wide receiver. I mean, his film pops at wide receiver, and I like recruiting those players that have wide receiver backgrounds and moving them to corner because I think they have a great feel and instinct for the type of routes that receivers are running, how they move in and out of the breaks, and the ball skills are applicable as well. So speed, transition quickness, athleticism that Minnesota will mold and could go, different directions because of versatility in that defensive back room, which I think is good to match different skill sets you see.
And this was a kid they found at a satellite camp, right?
Correct, yeah. So that's the thing, these camps, I believe it's very important to go and find players that you get an in-person look at. You can get some testing metrics, see how they move on the field. I love going to those camps in the summer, going around different places to watch players because you always find one hidden gem in the rough, and Gophers did a nice job of finding Gerald.
We mentioned Antoine Winfield and the impact he had on the field. He had an impact in this recruiting class, it sounds like, because a kid from Richmond, Virginia, and I'm not totally up on pronunciations, but I think it's Zahir Rayner. His dad was an NFL player, loves Antoine Winfield, came on a visit. I think they had Antoine do some FaceTiming with him. And here he is, signed, sealed, and delivered as a defensive back.
Fun to watch. Versatile Swiss Army knife type of skill set, can work from different alignments, both as a nickel and safety, moves really well, plays with a relentless mentality and edge. Immediately pops out on the film with the instincts and the awareness and reading the combinations and then triggering and disrupting passing lanes, sniffed out screens well, blew around blocks, made a ton of plays. Just you pull up the film and you immediately know who Rayner is and where he's at on the field. Like you said, Wally played linebacker at Virginia. His dad was selected in the 4th round of the 99 NFL draft, played 6 seasons in the league, so has some bloodlines there. But versatile skill set that can help you in the blitz game, move all over, do some different things. Winfield influence was big in this recruiting process because a lot of big schools were after him, ACC schools, including his dad's alma mater.
Yeah, that's great. And he is signed and ready to go. All right, so into the state of Iowa. There haven't been a lot of kids from that state that have come to Minnesota. Kieft, I guess, comes to mind. Currently, Frank Bierman, a kid from Tipton, Iowa. And this kid is Jason Simpson, also a tight end, 6'5", 210. What do you see from him?
I always like to give a player that maybe has fallen through the cracks, not getting as much hype as some of these other guys on each side of the ball, and I'd give it on offense to Jacob Simpson from Iowa. Springy, long athlete with good movement skills, body control, does a good job of getting position, adjusting, and attacking the football. Wide catch radius, and you can move him all over. Like I said, mismatched skill set was something the Gophers looked for in this class. More of a power slot weapon that you can detach versus safeties and linebackers and slot corners, move them off of crossing routes, set up yards after the catch opportunities. So someone who's very athletic with a nice frame, gives them a unique type of skill set that they can deploy in their offense. Keep an eye on Jacob Simpson because I think he could be a really big weapon for the offense.
Tight ends sometimes take time to develop. Sometimes they come right in and play, so we'll keep an eye on him and find out what goes on. We go to Chris Altman-Bell's high school for a running back, Jaden Wright out of Kankakee, Illinois.
5'10", 220, brings size and physicality right away. Muscles through defenders, breaks, arm tackles, extended runs in the second level by making sharp cuts. Solid lateral agility for a player with his size profile. Not a home run hitting type of back by any means, but has a quick feet and good short area burst and change of direction. Solid pass protection reps too, which is something I look for, ability to pick up the blitz and chip. Good as a receiver as well. 3-sport athlete, basketball, track, and football. So Jaden Wright gives them just another player who can develop up in a room where they've shown, hey, you need depth there. You need players that can contribute, and Jaden Wright gives them that.
Back to the state of Minnesota, Hill Murray High School, and defensive back Simon Sadel.
It's a tie for me on the defensive side with underrated player, probably Simon Seidel and Samuel Madu, 2 defensive backs. Mm-hmm. Seidel, he's a hockey background guy, very good hockey player, but some of those traits are transferable. I've tried to go back and find defensive backs with hockey backgrounds. It's hard. The Watt brothers are 2 players that had strong hockey backgrounds that took a football path, but like the balance, the lower body stability, the power that you need on the skates can help you as a defensive back, I think. Versatile player, played a ton of different roles in high school, but has that athletic ability, the traits, the movement skills, very good as a receiver and a punt returner as well. So another athlete that you get in here and you figure out which path is best based on physical development. But when you look at traits, Seidel jumps out immediately.
Staying in Minnesota, Eden Prairie, defensive lineman Mo Sane.
Frame jumps out when you walk in the room. PJ brought that up. Long arms, 82-inch reported wingspan, so he can extend, stack, and shed blockers. You see him deconstructing blocks a lot and has some speed to power potential too. Disruptive when he gets his hands on the blocker, and it's pretty quick laterally. Plays with good effort, able to run down on the backside a lot. Once he gets all that technique down, continues to get bigger and stronger, uses his length as an asset, there's tons of developmental potential, extremely high ceiling here. It's just going to be how everything comes together and when Winston gets to work with him a little bit.
All right, we stay again in Minnesota, Mankato, Minnesota. Gophers with a couple of wide receivers in this class, and this kid is named Jalen Smith, Mankato, Minnesota.
PJ brought him up as an underrated player, and I agree. Like, natural hands catcher who plucks the football. I mean, very good hands and good ball tracking. When he doesn't have a clean angle on the ball, he can still be able to track it and bring it in. Generate separation out of the break because he's got some suddenness to him. Speed and acceleration downfield. Now it's all about the details in between there. The center of gravity, the balance, the stance, dropping weight in and out of breaks. But like when you look at the trait profile and the playmaking ability, the hands, that stuff is there, and now it's all about molding it. I asked Jalen at an event, I did an interview with him and was asking him some route running influences. He said playing style-wise, he looks up to Deontay Johnson. I thought that was an interesting comp that he brought up to me, somebody that he could potentially follow a similar developmental path to.
Sam Macy, Chanhassen, Minnesota. I at one point saw him listed as a tight end. I think he's now listed at linebacker. Where do you project him?
Athlete with developmental frame, came to a camp, tested well in the 40-yard dash specifically, showed flashes of potential during the one-on-one portion of the camp too. And that's, like PJ said, you want to have a chance to play for the Gophers, come to these camps because they matter. If you perform well, you test well, you take advantage of your opportunity, you can get an offer. Athletic ability pops out on tape, being able to chase down plays on the perimeter. Has the athletic ability to drop in space too, which is valuable in some of the pressure looks that Minnesota wants to do. So someone that will get in here with the strength program and try to harness some of those athletic traits.
Nick Monroe, the cornerbacks coach, co-defensive coordinator who came in from Syracuse, is of course from Minnesota, but he's using those Syracuse and New York connections for our next 2 players. He's been a very highly regarded recruiter for a number of years. Jalen Hicks, an edge rusher, New Rochelle, New York.
Yeah, it projects as a developmental pocket pushing and edge setting 5 technique defensive end, long arms with a frame that can continue getting stronger. PJ talked about the quick twitch athleticism being something that they liked within his game. Jiu-jitsu background, which that jumps out. Like you watch how he hand fights and gets off of blocks and holds the edge. Like that stuff, again, like looking into the details of wrestling, shot put and discus, the jiu-jitsu background, like all those things can help a player adjust quicker at the college level. It sounds crazy, but that type of stuff matters. So missed 5 games of his senior season with an ankle injury, but just see the flashes and ability once he gets in here to develop up. Nick Monroe securing the deal there.
And then White Plains, New York, a defensive back, Samuel Madu.
Yeah, I mentioned Madu. Swagger and confidence are the two words that I wrote down. Long, developmental defensive back with good movement skills. Actually, pretty good technique for a player that hasn't played football as much. Very controlled, intentional movements, being able to make plays on the ball, lean and locate and man coverage on the boundary. He's one of those guys you can put in the boundary and just let him man cover. You mentioned New York, him and Hicks coming together. I did some research. Looks like him and Hicks will be the 8th New York natives to play for the Gophers since 1990. So
wow.
New York hasn't been a spot that the Gophers have prioritized in the past, but with the relationships that you have, you got to remember Nick was at Syracuse, and then you got Winston having the Maryland background as well, so you can hit the East Coast maybe a little harder.
Yeah, and Monroe has a great recruiting history, and he was, at a smaller school out in New York to really get those roots before he was at Syracuse, and he's got, I think his wife is from New York, his wife's family is all from that area, so it all definitely is a situation where he feels comfortable going into that place of New York. Not just even New York City, upstate New York and other places. All right, this will be a test for the radio guy when this kid gets the ball out of Philadelphia. Fame Ijaboy? Do we know?
That sounds.
That's what we're
just
going
about
with,
right? Yeah, that's pretty good.
All right,
nice job.
At some point, we'll know for sure. 6 foot 190 running back out of Philly.
Acceleration, one-cut zone scheme runner who I think can do really well in outside zone. PJ talked about the testing metrics that they didn't want out there during the press conference availability. Reportedly reached 22 miles an hour in catapult tracking. So when he gets out in the open field and hits the edge, he can really go 10, 8, 900 meter, played a little linebacker on defense. Can catch the ball in the screen game out of the backfield, moves well laterally. I think PJ sort of alluded to the fact that maybe one of these guys will be able to come in and help right away as depth, because last year you saw how they got to the bottom of the depth chart at running back.
5 deep.
You got to continue. You got to be developing rapidly at the running back position. So Jaboy brings in speed and some upside there to that running back room that they'll work with for the next couple of years here.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, last high schooler is a receiver with Canadian roots, but I think finished in Florida, Dallas Sims.
Yeah, intriguing developmental prospect with unique potential skill set. I see more of like a power slot mismatch receiver that can move all over, a chess piece that Greg Harbaugh and Matt Simon can get free releases for through motion, getting him in different places, moving him off crossers, getting those mismatches that you're looking for in the second and the third level of the defense. I really liked one thing when I watched him play was his field vision to read blockers and make plays after the catch, and then the body control and traffic, being able to adjust very quickly on back shoulder balls. Big frame prospect who will continue, again, like I've been saying, gets in here, works in the strength and conditioning program, and then figure out what the role projection looks like. 15 years old, moved away from Manitoba, Canada, to gain more football opportunities. So he's a Canadian, but went down to Clearwater, where the Gophers have had a lot of success with Clearwater Academy. Rylan Kelly went to school there as well. So Gophers are excited about the unique skill set he could bring to the offense.
So that's the set of high schoolers that have signed with the Gophers on this national early signing period day here this December 20th as we record with Daniel House, gophersguru.com. One of the things that has kind of struck me over the years as it progresses is I always want to take a look at the offer list, right? Because that also gives you a little bit of an idea. I don't know. I'm not like you. I can't watch. I don't know enough about what to look for and what makes a good player. I'd see a kid from a small school run for 1,800 yards and say, put him in. And then guys like you would say, well, he runs a 5.4 40 and he's playing against a linebacker who's 4'11" or whatever, right? So I can't do that. I can describe a game, but I don't know all of this stuff. So the one thing though is offer list that as PJ has gone through and relative to other things years ago, it used to be Minnesota would go find a lot of unheralded guys, and they would have Toledo, Miami of Ohio, maybe Purdue, and that's it. and that's not a knock on any of those schools. Now you're seeing almost everybody the Gophers now have signed having multiple Power 5 offers, and they have to beat some people out, including at times your own rivals and other Big Ten schools.
Yeah, and like PJ said, you have to be able to win in 4-year recruiting to have success and build a foundation, because in this landscape, we all talk about the portal, and it's the huge discussion point at the national level right now. But the programs that have the 4-year recruiting blended with the transfer portal that do a good job of striking the right balance based on what their current roster situations and NIL look like, they set themselves up for long-term success. You look at this class, PJ mentioned it, 3 top players from different states. And then you could argue Drake Lindsay, I'd put him in the 4. I'd put him as a 4. Possibly. And I don't get too caught up in the rankings. Like you said, I look at the offers, which teams are interested, and then evaluate the film. But being able to elevate the level of talent that, people are going after that type of player, you see what those schools are doing in recruiting, and you go, okay, a lot of athletic upside. I think that's the big thing in this class that I've noticed is like the athletic traits. The projection is there. Now it's all about putting it together and putting those players in the best position to have good careers.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned that about last year's class too, right? A lot of athleticism and good traits.
But that's why I think they were kind of in a weird inflection point with their roster last year where those guys needed some time to develop. There's some really good players in that class that we'll start to see a little more of this year. Plus, now you're getting these other guys in and developing them up. So hopefully forward momentum for Gopher football going into the next couple of years as some of this athleticism gets refined and then the technique gets caught up with the upside.
All right, let me quickly talk about one of our sponsors, Affinity Plus. It's your local credit union proudly serving Minnesota since 1930. If you're a current Gopher student or a proud Gopher alum, you are eligible to join this financial that wants to build a meaningful banking relationship and put you first. You can meet with a local employee at any of their branches statewide, including one right here near campus on University in Minneapolis. To learn more or find another way to connect, here's the webpage, affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. That's affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. You can also download their app. It's an award-winning app, and check them out there. Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA, proud sponsor of Gopher Athletics and a proud sponsor of the Go Gopher Podcast.
Hi, Gopher fans. Switching is easy. We do it all the time. We switch on lights, we switch TV channels, we switch on the TV. And with the new transfer portal, some college students even switch colleges, which can seem crazy to us diehard fans. But what's not crazy is how you can switch and save with State Farm. In fact, my agency can switch you over so we can start saving today. My team is ready to welcome you to the State Farm neighborhood and show you it is, in fact, easy to switch and save. When you want the real deal, check us out at ChamplinInsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Daniel House is with us. It's episode number 101, National Signing Day edition. Daniel back with us. We went through the recruiting class. Hopefully you enjoyed Daniel's breakdown as he is so in-depth and certainly, we got the thumbnail version. You have for subscribers of your webpage, gophersguru.com, you have a much more in-depth, if people are really into the recruiting, what would you call it, a recap, a summary?
Yeah, 2024 Gophers Recruiting Guide just went live yesterday. I believe it's like 4,000 words on the class. Just a lot of different background stuff, what their skill sets are like, but also, family stuff, sports they play in, all these different things, little nuggets that I've gathered over time here. So if you're interested in that, you just get the $5 a month subscription package. You get access to the full guide and then all the content after that, portal, going into the season, bowl game, and then, your traditional breakdowns throughout the season.
Yeah, I'd encourage you to do it. Even off-season stuff, like right now, obviously there's a bowl game coming up, but this is a prime time to certainly be doing that. Okay, real quickly, 5 transfers. Let's hit on these guys. The headliner is clearly the quarterback. This is the presumed starter for 2024. Had 2 back-to-back starting seasons that were high level at New Hampshire. A finalist for the FCS Player of the Year, the Walter Payton Award. Max Brosmer, originally from Georgia, went to New Hampshire. What have you seen when you break down his film?
Yeah, I was able to get through his games, and the first
You watched
takeaway.
every game he played, didn't you?
Yeah, I went through all the CAA games. I'm becoming a CAA Patriot League connoisseur.
Yeah.
But, you know, I look at the film and I see anticipation and accuracy. The processing to be able to move defenders, understand where the zone windows are, get the ball there with anticipation, and throw receivers open. The red zone is where he shined, being able to place the ball accurately in different situations there. If you look just at I always, it's my pet peeve, like the original completion percentage statistic, because it doesn't factor in drops.
Sure.
And when you go and look at drops last year, he experienced the third most drops among FCS quarterbacks. So if you filter out the drops, this guy had about a 75% adjusted completion percentage. So the accuracy is there. PJ Fleck talked about the background, wanting to be a heart surgeon.
Yeah.
Smart, has the accuracy, anticipation traits that Minnesota's looking for in the offense, has a little RPO background as well, is capable of keeping in the zone read game too. Blitz pressure also. I went through and watched the film, and I went, man, this guy's very good against the blitz, while the numbers back that up. I wrote about it in the huge breakdown that I did on Brosmer. The statistics against the blitz are very impressive. So that tells you a lot about being able to manage the pocket, know where to go with the football.
Process it.
Pull the clip out, you know, the nickel's coming in on a blitz, and he knows right where he needs to go with the football. So the processing, the experience level. I mean, people talk about playing in the FCS, but you still got to be able to execute, get the ball to the right spot, make the plays when they're available. And so looks like a good fit for Minnesota's offense.
Gophers have had some success dipping down to that level with players. You think about Jack Gibbons at linebacker. You think about Jack Henderson at that kind of safety / nickel monster position, whatever you want to call it. Quarterback is a different situation, though, because that's the straw that stirs the drink. Do you believe in watching this film that his skill set translates, that he's a guy that can have success against Big Ten defenses?
Yeah, I like their fit within the scheme, because he also worked in a mid-zone, inside zone rushing scheme, some RPO, some play action under center stuff, can work from the gun. That transition will be helpful because he's already got some conceptual knowledge to go along with the experience at the FCS level. Accuracy is the one thing you got to look for in a quarterback. Does he deliver the ball where it needs to be, throw receivers open, and process the defense in a split second, reacting to coverage picture changes? And Brosmer has shown the ability to do that. It's clear Minnesota wanted to get a quarterback with experience, accuracy, and then the processing skills to be able to do the things that they want to do schematically within the offense.
How much of a competition was this? What other places or what kind of level of places were also coming after him?
Well, I mean, you look, Western Michigan offered him. I believe Western Kentucky did, but Minnesota locked this thing up early to the point where I think people kind of knew Minnesota was going to be, you know, the team that he was going to pick. So I think that played a role in it, that Minnesota knew they wanted this guy and they went after it. And so you look at transfer portal rankings, like PJ said, I think he was up to like 5th or something at that point. But like if you go through like I do, you look at the numbers and you see where these quarterbacks stack up. He was definitely the guy you wanted to target out of the FCS level that looked like he could translate up.
Gotcha. Running back, we talked about adding depth, and C.A. Bangura is an Ohio player, and the Bobcat had a pretty good season last year. What does he look like on film? Yeah,
one of those zone scheme runners where I think when things are blocked up well, he's going to take advantage of the opportunities, be able to break some tackles, is very productive, gets what's blocked, a little bit of physicality to be able to bust through tackles occasionally, and very good as a receiver. That was one of the takeaways that I had, was being able to catch the ball. The guy has a lot of experience being able to run routes out of the backfield, which I think adds a dimension to the offense if you're able to put some of that stuff in. So Bangura, experienced, productive zone runner who is one of those RB2 type of players that, you know, complements what they're going to get from Darius Taylor. I don't even think they're done possibly at the running back position yet, because PJ said they want to revamp revamp that room. I would say maybe more of a power skill set comes in here now. We'll see, but the January they'll still be active making some roster moves.
Gotcha. All right, with 2 defensive backs, one from TCU, Giante McMillan, and then one from Bucknell, again dipping down to that FCS level, Ethan Robinson. What do those 2 guys bring?
Yeah, Ethan Robinson is a zone scheme corner. I think he's going to fit well playing a lot of zone. He's able to process and undercut underneath routes. Good mover, 9 pass breakups last year, which was 14th among FCS cornerbacks with at least 150 coverage snaps. Will provide an experienced option opposite of Justin Wally, which they knew they needed to get some defensive back depth, some versatility. You mentioned Giante McMillan from TCU. Versatile player, can play in the nickel, play in the outside, play safety, a lot of snaps on special teams across units. He played in the college football playoff game against Michigan, working in more of a passing down slot role. So he has shown he can handle slot receivers and tight ends. So I think having a versatile skill set that you can move all over is something that they had to make a priority, especially on passing downs. When you're going against different teams every week where you got some longer, bigger pass catchers, you've got the shifty slot type receivers, you got to have defensive backs that match up with that. So that's why they went and got a versatile guy like McMillan.
Those are the 2 defensive backs, and you mentioned Wally is back. Trayvon Jones is graduating, and so you've got Tariq Watson that will, is on this roster, and some others. So these 2 guys will fit in. Would you project Robinson or McMillan to be a starter next year if I had to hold a gun to your head now?
Robinson, yeah, I would say is probably going to play opposite of Wally, but yet again, there's competition in that room, and that's where I felt like PJ and the staff made that a priority across the roster, creating competition. This team's been at its best when they're able to have competition across position groups. Things aren't necessarily locked in. So a guy, Ethan Robinson, who had a previous connection with Nick Monroe through some of the recruiting that he did, again, leaning on your past relationships and the people you know can help you try to find some people that fit what you're trying to do.
All right, and then the last transfer, we go back to the quarterback position, Logan Fife from Fresno State.
Dual threat ability, 6 starts, appeared in a few games at Fresno State. So the thing that I believe is important to know about him is the fact he's worked with some really good offensive minds. He's with Kalen DeBoer, who's the head coach at Washington, Ryan Grubb, who's a really good offensive mind, the offensive coordinator at Washington, Kalen DeBoer, who's the head coach at Fresno now. Worked with some very good offensive minds there. He's got some mobility. He's smaller, but he can, escape and extend, create a second play, but also some design quarterback run. They had some quarterback power stuff where he was able to run and pick up some yardage. So again, 2 years of eligibility. So that gives you, Brosmer's got 1, so he plays this year. And then Lindsey's coming in as a 2024 signee. So Lindsey and Fife together in 2025, revamp the quarterback room. PJ definitely brought that up during the press conference about wanting to revamp some position groups through the portal and recruiting, and they definitely look to do that.
He had to spend time with Jeff Tedford too, then I would think, right?
Jeff Tedford, yep. Tedford, Grubb, DeBoer.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Tedford's
put some. You think about the guys he's put in the NFL over the years. He's developed some guys.
Yeah, and to be able to have that background, Giante McMillan too. Another little nugget about that is TCU is one of those teams that values speed training.
Yeah,
they emphasize it hard. They're constantly doing it, even during the season, 2 to 3 times per week, doing speed training to develop athleticism in all their players. So another nugget about guy coming in here that has been trained well athletically.
All right. So that is the group. There's some preferred walk-ons, and I think potentially still, as you mentioned, some transfer portal things that'll happen. And then we'll have another podcast in April, and people will be leaving, and people will be coming, and people will be going, and there's probably going to be a handful of turnover even at the end of the spring period.
I'm like, well, now we'll get through this.
Yeah.
Get to defensive bowl game, defensive coordinator, and then spring ball, and then we've got portal again. The portal window has created so much frenzy, but fun frenzy for me because I like going through and watching all these different guys.
GophersGuru.com is the webpage. All right, defensive coordinator, we mentioned it, Joe Rossi, stepping away from the Gophers. He has taken the job at Michigan State. He's already there. He has, he's in golf now in that program, so the position is open. Here, there will be Danny Collins and Nick Monroe, I suppose, will be kind of running this defense for the bowl game next week. Potential internal candidates, I would think, those two guys especially. And then you've got external candidates. So I know you've done some thought and research and feel, and what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, people have asked me, like, who would you interview if you were coming in here and, as a head coach and needed to hire a defensive coordinator based on the personnel Minnesota has. One guy I've had my eye on is Joe Klanderman, defensive coordinator at Kansas State, got 22 years of coaching experience, 11 as a defensive coordinator, was in the NSIC with Mankato, worked with Todd Hoffner down there, and then now 4 at Kansas State, was a defensive backs coach on those good North Dakota State Bison teams, has a background in the 4-3 Tampa 2 type of style defense with the 2 high, but also transitioned Kansas State into a 3-3-5. They were 4-3 for a while, then he went to 3-3-5 and hybridized their defense. So he's got a unique background to be able to kind of do both of those things. Some experience. I wrote in depth about him on the website, so you can check that out. Another name, Spence Nowinski, defensive coordinator at Ohio, put together some really impressive defensive metrics. They base out of a single high defense, and they fit the run really well. That was my takeaway. You can tell when a team and a coach emphasizes run fits and really detail-oriented run fits, I guess. And Nowinski showed that. So those are a couple names. I have a couple others that are on the website that you can read about under the defensive coordinator targets piece. So check that out.
Yeah, very good on Gophers Guru. All right, you have broken down some Bowling Green film, Minnesota and Bowling Green in the Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit. It is December the 26th, the day after Christmas, 1 o'clock. And what do you see when you watch the Falcons?
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota fans are familiar with Scott Loeffler and Bowling Green from the past. So, there's some things that they do that, you saw before: perimeter screens, power read play fakes, RPOs getting the ball out in space offensively, counter and gap schemes. Terrion Stewart, their running back, is really good at breaking tackles and picking up yards after contact. When I was looking at potential transfers and some of the metrics that I look at, this guy's like way ahead in that area. So he's been injured, so watch to see if he plays in the game. Defensively, they're a little multiple. Jalen Husky, a cornerback, going to Maryland, hit the transfer portal. So one of their better players in the secondary
will not be
playing. So keep an eye on the secondary. Run defense, bottom percentile of that area. So I think Minnesota's got some opportunities to do some things schematically in the run game, which I'll be writing about in the piece coming out soon. I think penalties are the things to watch in this game. Bowling Green averaging 7 penalties per game, which is in the bottom percentile nationally, averaging 63 penalty yards per game, 15th worst mark in the FBS. So penalties have been killer all year. On the flip side, Gophers committed just 3 penalties per game this year on average, 28 penalty yards per game, second and third best respectively in the FBS, which is huge. It keeps you in games. Flip side, Bowling Green taking away the football, creating turnovers, second most takeaways in the FBS, 4th most interception. So taking care of the football and playing a clean game are going to be 2 things to watch for that maybe fans wouldn't notice on the surface.
And they run, they have 2 quarterbacks. One plays more than the other, but they will run 2 guys out there.
They will run. Bazelak is kind of the passing quarterback, so he'll be the one in there that is orchestrating the downfield aspects of the offense. I think perimeter block deconstruction is going to be big in this game because they like to throw the ball on the perimeter. In the quick hit game over the middle, going to have to limit yards after the catch. This is an offense that's predicated on, getting playmakers the ball while moving away from the defense and setting up yards after the catch opportunities. So that's the key. And I think Minnesota, the difference in this game will ultimately be their ability to run the football against this front. And we'll see, it's hard to know, Grimm, who's playing in this game.
Don't know.
On both sides. Yeah. And that's what I say when I'm projecting these bowl games. I was going through, I picked all the games and I said, I just want to look at team tendency versus personnel.
Sure.
And even then, it's like you got younger players and roles that, guys out of a gap, and here you go, it's a big play. So these bowl games are truly outliers. It's about developing young
wild
talent.
card all the way. And in Minnesota's case, Cole Kramer gets his first career start as a fifth-year player. He had that great spring game last year. There's some film, I suppose, that you have broken down. What do you think of Cole Kramer as the starting quarterback?
I'm excited for him, man. He's been here forever. He's worked very hard in the program, been a quiet leader behind the scenes. And when I've done stories and talked to people that are around the team, they talk about Cole Kramer and the impact he's had in the locker room in a quiet way.
Yeah.
So I say good for him that he's able to end his career in this way.
Yeah.
Hometown kid playing in the bowl game. The circumstances were definitely unique. That's where this college football landscape's at, but I hope he comes out and plays.
Go throw for 300 and 3 touchdowns.
Great game, just lets it rip. You could do some stuff. The thing is, you got to be careful. You can't do too much quarterback run because of the quarterback depth in that room.
Right, you're right.
But it's cool. Brosmer's going to be at the bowl game too.
Yeah, they're going to practice him a little bit as a practice.
He's
player.
on the way here now,
just to get into the
But that says a lot about the guy.
Yeah,
like he wants
100%.
to get here.
He's ready to dive in,
hit the ground running. Hey, that stuff matters. So
100%. Get him integrated into the system as well. The other thing with Cole Kramer that I think is cool is this. If you remember the game in New York City last year, that was Athan's game. He started like 8 for 9, looked great, and then got hurt. And Tanner Morgan, who we thought was just going to kind of waltz off into, trying an NFL camp, which he did, got kind of a curtain call, no pun intended, at a baseball stadium. And so in a weird way, this is Cole Kramer's chance to, go out with, nobody was expecting him that he'd be a starter in the bowl game. And now he's got a chance for his own curtain call.
I thought it was cool, PJ, talking about the reaction when they told the team that Cole was going to be the starter. He got a standing ovation and everybody was all fired up because they know how much work that he's put into this, sticking around, not playing, but still keeping that positive mindset to be there for his teammates. It's a local angle, high school product from here, EP. PJ was talking about the connection with the Grants and EP's football program too.
Yeah.
And how that has played a role in a lot of different things with recruiting. So cool to see Kramer get the shot here.
He, by the way, quick plug, he was the guest last week on the Go Gopher podcast. It was talking about all of how excited he is, and he says he feels at total peace. He's not that nervous. He's ready to go, which I thought was cool.
But he's been around it. He's watched everything. He's learned how to study film from different offensive coordinators over the past few years, and so it's not like he isn't aware of the mental aspects of playing the position. He can come in and certainly handle that. So I'm excited to watch the bowl game. I mean, there'll be a lot of young players out there that'll get sort of an in-person eval for the first time.
100%. Well, Daniel House, it's been an hour. We thank you for giving us so much good in-depth info, even more in-depth info on your webpage with the recruiting guide as well. Again, tell folks how they can get that.
GophersGuru.com, $5 a month gets you access to the site. Check it out. Just go to that link, and it's on my Twitter page at Daniel House MN, so you can find everything there.
Awesome. We appreciate it. As always, great info.
Thanks for having me.
Daniel House, episode 101, the Go Gopher Podcast. The Go Gopher Podcast is presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're buying or selling a business, visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. We're also partnered with Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union, a locally member-owned full-service financial invested in you. You can learn more at affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. That's affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. Cubs sponsors the Go Gopher Podcast. It's the official grocer of the Golden Gophers. And we're brought to you by State Farm agent Tony Hoagland. Again, I'd invite you to listen to past podcasts, and please be sure to subscribe to the Go Gopher Podcast right now. It's free to subscribe and free to listen. And please share the link to the podcast with others so they can subscribe and listen as well. We'll talk again next week.